The first time Ava Reyes asked me to pretend to date her, I was standing in my garage with grease up to my elbows and a torque wrench in my hand, and I remember thinking, this is not a conversation I am equipped to have right now. My name is Jake Whitfield. I'm 27. I restore old trucks for a living, mostly Fords from the 60s that other people gave up on. And up until that Thursday night, Ava had been exactly one thing to me for 13 years. My best friend's little sister. Nothing more, nothing less. She'd been the kid trailing behind me and her brother Sam on bike rides, the one who cried when we wouldn't let her play video games with us, the one who grew up somewhere in the background of my life while I wasn't paying attention. Then she came back from college 2 years ago, sharper, quieter, with a way of looking at a room like she was already 3 steps ahead of everyone in it. She was family, the kind of family you don't examine too closely, because examining it feels like a door you're not supposed to open. That Thursday, Sam had asked me to swing by his parents' place to help move a couch, and I'd stuck around after because his mom fed me, and I never said no to that. I was out in the garage checking on an old Bronco I'd been meaning to look at for Sam's dad when Ava walked in, arms crossed, phone clutched in one hand like she was trying not to throw it. "Rough night?" I asked. "You have no idea." I didn't push. Ava talked when Ava wanted to talk, and rushing her just made her go quiet in that particular way she had, jaw tight, eyes somewhere else. So I kept working and let the silence do its job. The garage light buzzed. Somewhere inside the house, I could hear her mom running water in the kitchen. After a minute, she sat down on an overturned bucket near the workbench and said, out of nowhere, "Can I ask you something insane?" "You usually do." "I'm serious, Jake." And when I looked up, something in her face had actually changed. Less sharp, more careful. "My ex is getting married." I knew the name before she said it. Colin, the guy who'd spent a year and a half telling her she was too much and not enough in the same breath, then turned around 8 months later and proposed to someone else. Ava had mentioned it exactly once, in passing, the way she mentioned things she'd already decided not to feel anymore. "I heard," I said carefully. "You okay?" "I don't know." She picked at a thread on her sleeve. "Sam's parents got invited to the engagement dinner because Colin's family and ours go way back. And somehow, I got roped into going too because my mom thinks not going looks worse than going." "That sounds like your mom." "It does." She let out a breath. "The thing is, everyone there is going to know what happened. Everyone's going to be watching to see if I fall apart. And I just..." She stopped herself, shook her head like she was annoyed at her own sentence. "This is stupid." "Try me." She looked at me for a long second, like she was deciding whether I'd earned the rest of it. Then she said, "I don't want to walk in there looking like I've spent 2 years alone thinking about him. I want to walk in there with someone who makes it obvious I'm fine." "More than fine." I set the wrench down slowly. "You want me to be your date. I want you to be my boyfriend for one night," she said, convincingly. "Sam trusts you more than anyone. You're the only guy I know who wouldn't turn this into something weird, or use it as leverage later." High praise. Don't let it go to your head. But there was a small, nervous smile underneath it, and I realized I hadn't seen that particular smile from her in years. Not the smirking one she gave everyone else, the real one. "What exactly does this involve?" I asked. "Not much. You come with me. We act like a couple, hold hands, laugh at each other's jokes like you actually think I'm funny. A beat. And if it comes up, if Colin gets close enough that it needs to look real, we kiss." I nearly dropped the wrench I'd already set down. "You want me to kiss you?" "I want you to pretend to kiss me in a way that convinces a room full of people who've spent 2 years assuming I'm still hung up on a guy who traded me in like a lease." She said it fast, as she'd rehearsed it. "That's it. That's the whole favor." I should have said no immediately. 13 years of history was telling me this was the kind of favor that didn't stay a favor. But there was also Ava, sitting on a paint bucket in my garage with her guard all the way down, asking for something honest instead of pretending everything was fine, the way she always did. "When's the dinner?" I asked. "Saturday." "And you need an answer now?" "I need an answer before I lose my nerve and cancel." I looked at her hands, at the way she was gripping the hem of her sleeve. I thought about Colin, a guy I'd met exactly twice and disliked both times, sitting at some dinner table feeling good about himself, while Ava braced for an entire evening of being watched. "Okay," I said. "I'm in." Her whole face changed. Relief, disbelief, something else underneath both. "Really? Really? But if we're doing this, we do it right. No half measures." "Obviously." She smiled, and it wasn't the guarded one this time. "Thank you. I mean it." "Don't thank me yet," I said. "You haven't seen how convincing I can be." But I should have known right then I was in trouble. I just didn't want to admit it yet. Saturday came faster than I wanted, which was strange, because a fake date with my best friend's little sister to protect her from a table full of judgmental relatives should not have been something I spent all week thinking about. And yet there I was, standing in front of my mirror trying on 3 different shirts like I was interviewing for a job instead of doing a favor. Ava picked me up because she said arriving together made the story hold together better. She was wearing a deep red dress that made the whole thing feel a lot more real than it was supposed to. Hair down, a nervous energy humming just under her usual composure. "You look nice," I said, and it landed like an understatement the second it left my mouth. "You look terrified." "I'm not terrified." "You're gripping the wheel like it insulted your mother." She loosened her grip, marginally. We drove in a silence that wasn't uncomfortable so much as loaded, both of us aware of what we were about to walk into, and neither of us quite sure how to talk about it out loud. "Rules," Ava said finally. "We've been together 4 months. We met through Sam. You think I'm hilarious and a little terrifying. Accurate so far. And if Colin starts doing his thing, where he tries to get under my skin, you step in. Not aggressively, just enough." "Define enough." She glanced at me sideways. "You'll know it when you see it." The dinner was at one of those restaurants with low lighting and a wine list longer than the menu. The second we walked in, I felt the room shift toward us, the specific kind of attention that comes from people who've been talking about someone for months, and finally get to see her in person. Ava slid her hand into mine before I even offered it. Her fingers were cold. "Showtime," she murmured. Colin found us within 10 minutes, which honestly impressed me with its efficiency. He was exactly the type I expected. Good haircut, better watch, a smile built for cameras rather than people. "Ava," he said, arms half open for a hug he wasn't going to get. "You made it." "I was invited," Ava said, even and pleasant. His eyes moved to me, cataloging. "And you brought someone." "This is Jake," Ava said, squeezing my hand. "Jake?" "Colin." I shook his hand with more force than strictly necessary. "Congratulations on the engagement," I said, in a tone that made clear I didn't particularly care. His smile flickered, just slightly. "Thanks, man. So, how long have you two?" 4 months, Ava said smoothly. "Feels longer," I added, looking at her instead of him. In a good way. That earned me a look from Ava I wasn't expecting. Warm, a little surprised, like she hadn't planned on me actually being good at this. Dinner went on that way, Ava fielding questions with an ease that told me she'd rehearsed the story more times in her head than she'd admit, and Colin circling back every 20 minutes with some new version of the same needling question, always dressed up as casual conversation. "How'd you two really meet?" "Convenient timing, huh? Didn't realize you were seeing anyone." Each time, I watched something in Ava's shoulders tighten just slightly before she caught herself. Somewhere near dessert, standing off near the window with the city lights behind her, Ava let out a breath, like she'd been holding it since we walked in. "You okay?" I asked. "I didn't think it would still feel like this," she admitted. "Being here, watching him perform happily. I thought I was past it." "You don't have to be past it tonight," I said, You just have to survive it. She looked at me for a second, something shifting behind her eyes. You're better at this than I expected. At what? At being kind about it, instead of smug. I've had practice not being smug. Comes with being somebody's best friend's tag-along little brother figure for 13 years. That got a real laugh out of her, the kind that carried, the kind that made a couple of heads turn with curiosity instead of judgment. For a second, standing there with her hand still loosely in mine, it didn't feel like a favor anymore. It felt like something else I wasn't ready to name. Then Colin found us one more time, this round with 2 of his groomsmen trailing behind him like an audience assembled for exactly this moment. One more question, he said, that same false casual tone in his voice. If you two are so happy, so real, why haven't I seen you kiss all night? The question landed like a dare, aimed straight at Ava. I understood immediately what he was doing. This was the moment she'd asked me for, the one we'd talked about in the car, and I didn't wait for her to answer him. I turned toward her, cupped her face, and kissed her. It was supposed to be quick. Convincing enough to shut the question down, brief enough to stay inside the lines we'd drawn. That was the plan. The plan didn't survive contact, because the second my mouth met hers, Ava's hand came up to my jaw, not performing, not pulling away, pulling me closer like something in her had stopped acting the moment it started. I forgot about Colin. I forgot about the dinner, the table, the audience. There was just Ava, warm and real, kissing me back as she meant it, and for a few seconds, that felt a lot longer than a few seconds, nothing else existed at all. When we broke apart, Colin had gone quiet. Somewhere behind us, one of his groomsmen muttered, "Okay, that wasn't fake." I couldn't have agreed more. Ava looked at me, breathless, with something like the same confusion I felt written across her face. "That was supposed to be for Colin," she said quietly. "I know," I said. "It didn't feel like it was for Colin." "I know that too." We didn't talk much on the drive back. It wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It was the kind that comes after something shifts, and neither person knows how to put it into words yet. When she parked outside my place, she didn't get out right away. She just sat there, hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. "I need to say something," she said, "and I need you to not make it weird. When have I ever made things weird?" "I'm serious, Jake." I turned toward her. "Say it." She took a breath. "That kiss wasn't part of the plan." I mean, it was, technically, but somewhere in the middle of it I stopped thinking about Colin entirely. I stopped thinking about the dinner, any of it. I was just thinking about you. My chest did something I wasn't prepared for. "I've been thinking about you for longer than tonight," I admitted. "I just didn't let myself notice, because you're Sam's little sister, and that always felt like a line I wasn't supposed to cross." "Lines can move," Ava said quietly. "Can they?" "I just moved one in front of my ex and his entire wedding party," she said. "I think we're past worrying about lines." I laughed, some of the tension breaking. "So what happens now?" She turned toward me fully, some of her old confidence back, but softer, more honest than the version she usually showed the world. "Now," she said, "you take me on an actual date. No dinner to survive, no Colin, no pretending, just us." "Just us," I agreed. I leaned across the console and kissed her again, slower this time. No audience to convince, no favor to repay. Just 2 people finally admitting what had been sitting quietly between them for years. Sam found out 3 days later, and his reaction was somewhere between horrified and delighted, which honestly felt about right given the circumstances. "You kissed my sister at Colin's engagement dinner to win some imaginary contest against her ex," he said on the phone, voice pitched somewhere between a shout and a laugh. "That's a reductive way to put it. It turned into something real, Sam. I'm not apologizing for that." There was a long pause. Then he said, more quietly, "Good, you'd better not." Ava and I took it slow after that. The way people do when they know they stumbled into something neither of them planned, but both of them wanted. Real dates. No rehearsed backstory. No audience. No bet or dinner hanging over either of our heads. Just conversations that ran too long and peeled back years of assuming we already knew everything there was to know about each other. 6 months in, we told her parents at Sunday dinner, half expecting some kind of awkward silence given the history between our families. Instead, her mother just looked at Ava, then at me, and said, "Finally," like she'd been waiting for us to catch up to something she'd already figured out a long time ago. A year after that dinner, I proposed in the exact garage where the whole thing started. Grease still on my hands because apparently some things are supposed to stay the same. She said yes before I finished the question, laughing through tears, telling me I'd ruined a perfectly good proposal by rushing it. Now, when people ask how we got together, Ava tells them the short version. He kissed me to shut down my ex. I always add the rest. She kissed me back as she meant it. Both parts are true. Only one of them explains why we're still together. Would you have said yes if your best friend's little sister asked you to fake a relationship for one night, and the fake part stopped being fake the second it started? And have you ever done someone a favor that turned into the biggest thing that ever happened to you? Tell me your story in the comments. If you liked this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.